we got a question on Facebook from Jesse, who says that he's having an issue as gym. He's a white belt that has been training for about 16 classes, about a month. And he says that the problem is that he recently scored his very first submission from side control, a Kimura. The problem with it is that he celebrated afterwards. Right after the win, he got up, put his hands up, was like, yes! And he ran across the mat like a really quick sprint. And then when he came back, his coach was looking at him and was like, no, dude, that's not, right? And so when that happened, he was kind of like, uh-oh. He talked to his partner. His partner was cool with it. And he said, no big deal. And Jesse felt bad because Jesse was like, I didn't come from a bad place of me personally. I was just excited about the fact I got a submission. But his coach told him as he was out of line. And so Jesse's wondering, was I out of line or was I not? And so that was the question. So first off, Jesse, thanks for the question today, brother. And I've seen this happen a lot with white belts. I don't really know why. This didn't really happen so much with me because it was beaten out of me in wrestling, because I understood the sort of delicate balance that you have, right? Because I guess you realize over time that any success you have in training comes off the back of one of your partner's failures, right? And so again, failing doesn't ever feel good, right? It doesn't necessarily feel that bad when you're training, but it always feels better to win. And so just always keep in mind that when you win, when you succeed at something in jiu-jitsu, especially in training, it always comes off the back of your partner's failures. And so that's a sensitive thing, man, right? Again, I get messages every day from people saying, man, it sucks because I've lost this position or I failed at this, right? And they feel frustrated by that. So understand that there may be some frustration associated with your partner. And you've got to keep that in mind. Because here's what's going to happen. A few things will happen if you were to continue celebrating, right? One would be that the person's going to come at you like 10 times harder when you roll again, right? Because they're going to get irritated by it, frustrated by it, upset by it, right? I mean, all you have to do is think about being a young guy, playing any sort of game with your buddies, right? Like maybe a basketball game, maybe video games, and one of your buddies maybe starts to brag and walk around with a little bit more swagger and talk about how good they're doing at the game or something. It's irritating, it's frustrating, and then you want to beat the person that much more. And then you talk about jiu-jitsu, which is a contact sport. Now they can maybe grind into you a little bit and make it very uncomfortable for you. So you don't want to do that. The next thing is people won't want to roll with you, right? When it's time to roll, they're going to see Jesse, oh, he's the guy that talks shit or he's the guy that celebrates. I'm going to go with this guy. Okay, that'd probably be the best case scenario. And then the worst case scenario for you is that if you keep doing it, you'll probably sort of alert the higher belts, because the higher belts are going to be like, oh, who's the new guy talking trash, or who's the new guy who's celebrating? And we had a similar situation. I'll tell you two situations that have happened before. One was here on the mat over here years ago. One of our guys, nice dude, right? He didn't mean anything by it, and I know he didn't mean anything by it, but again, I had to sort of make him think about it. He got a triangle on his buddy, on another white belt, and then he jumped up, was like, yes, I got a triangle, woo, right? He's all excited about it. And I stopped. I was in the middle of rolling here, and I got up and I grabbed him by his shoulder. I was like, not grabbed. I was pulled him close, and I was like, look at your partner. And so he's looking down on the ground. I was like, you just triangled him. He fucked up. You triangled him, and now you're celebrating. And I was like, how does it feel when you get triangled? And I just slapped him on his back, and I walked back to my roll, and you could tell he was kind of like, oh, oops, right? Because I know he didn't mean anything by it. I just wanted him to be empathetic for a second and think about, what did that feel like for that person? And then you're up celebrating. And then there was another situation where we had a guy last year. He's actually turned out to be a really great guy, but when he first came into the gym, he was bragging a lot, or he was, not celebrating, but he was sort of, yeah, man, I'm doing really well, or whatever, that kind of stuff, that kind of talk. And so it's very, unsettling to the rest of the group. And a lot of people were kind of upset about it. They're like, what's wrong with him? Why doesn't he get it, right? It's not about me beating my partners. And so what ended up happening was some of our higher belts were like, okay, well, I'll have to sort of humble him a little bit, right? Because if he's going to talk about how good he is amongst other white belts, then he needs to know what it feels like to just fail utterly over and over and over again. And afterwards, it kind of, again, made him realize the error of his ways, because he's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk like this, because again, how it feels when you're getting beat. So anyway, Jesse, I think you made a mistake. It's okay, right? Again, we all make mistakes, just learn from it. Just don't do it again, right? When you win, get up and help your partner back up, right? Be like, good job, man. Whatever. Just something positive. When your partner beats you, get up and say, man, good job, that was a good submission. You want to try to take as much negative emotion away from losing or the roll itself as you can, because again, what'll end up happening is if it takes on a negative emotion, it really hinders your ability to grow. I know this from personal experience, because I used to get frustrated all the time. And so you want to try to do that as much as possible. Just be really positive and uplifting, whether you're winning or you're losing. So this way you and your partners can grow and become and have a great time together, right? And again, that's that. So anyway, Jesse, hope that helps, brother. Thanks for the question. Get a grip.